To all who come to this happy place, welcome to Lilo and Stitches. We're your hosts,
Chris
and Jen. All right, today, guys, we are going to talk about Disney after the world has changed. We wanted to talk about some of the changes that have happened to the parks. We also want to talk about how that might affect you. And is the magic really gone?
Yeah, I think that's for a lot of folks, it's certainly a topic of concern. They wanted to know what it's like. Having gone to Disney for years, for us, it's always been so magical. And then all of a sudden, March 2020 hit, and things changed, and we weren't sure we were going to go back when they reopened. And sure enough, when we were hearing the news about they were going to reopen, we wanted to go, but we were also cautious, and we did our homework, looking at all kinds of other boards and podcasters to see what was going on. And we found out that they had some stuff put in place that made us feel a little bit more comfortable. So we jumped on the bandwagon, and we went back in July, and then again just a couple of weeks ago. So
the question is Disney safe? I guess you're going to have to do a lot of research and make your own determination on that. I don't want to sway anyone to make it seem like, yes, it's safe, completely safe, go. And I don't want to give anybody the fear factor and that it's scary, you shouldn't go. The changes that we have experienced, I actually feel safer at Disney World than I do in my local community. Just because Disney researched lots of different things. They had people come in and tell them, this works, this doesn't work, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And they made their decisions on safety off of that. And so, the thing that really made me feel safer at Disney is, number one, they do make you wear the masks. They make everybody wear masks. They make you cover your entire face. And whether or not you believe masks are safety or not, or they work or they don't, that's not the discussion here. It's just, that's something that makes us personally feel safer. They also have put hand washing stations and hand sanitizing stations everywhere at the beginning of the queue to get onto the line. And they put it right before you get onto the rides, and they put it on your way out of the rides. So you have opportunities to wash and sanitize yourself before you get in the queue, before you get on the ride, after you get off of the ride, throughout the parks, near restaurants, all those things. Those things helped me to feel safer.
Yeah, and I think for us, because we do stay at Disney resorts, one of the biggest things for us is when we travel is staying in a hotel. We know based on personal experience, staying at 2-star and 1-star and 3-star and 4-star type hotels, you obviously see a difference in how they clean the rooms, how they make the beds, that kind of stuff. And Disney went over and above in how they're doing the rooms now. Not only does every room have a map indicating what parts of the room have been cleaned, the remote controls are sanitized,
and put in little baggies.
Put in bags, the knobs are wiped down, the door handles are wiped down, the bedding is changed. Everything to kind of make you feel better. And so for us, it did make us feel a little more safer than it did going to the local grocery store. And as Jen pointed out, it's not a matter of personal preference for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask or hand sanitizing or social distancing. These are the rules that Disney put in place. They make a lot of people feel comfortable. They make other people think that they're overblown or out of proportion. At the end of the day, this is what was mandated for Disney to get their doors back open. Disney was able to get their doors back open. And Disney has stuck by that. So one of the things that I noticed of the 2 times we've gone, they've done a really good job of making sure people are social distanced. They've done a really good job of reminding folks to wear their masks appropriately.
And I like the way that they do it. They're not overbearing, and they're not yelling at you all the time. The cast members don't want to yell at you. They don't want to argue with you. So they have these little signs that they carry around just as a friendly reminder. Here, hey, wear your masks. Wear your mask appropriately. And they also have announcements that come up over the loudspeakers ever so often that says, hey, you need to wear your masks. You need to do that.
So they've done a lot to help people really follow the rules. Now we do want to kind of give a little more detail as to So what are some of the things that have really changed? So for those of you who have visited Disney World in the past, you know what a magical place it is. You know all the things that they have, all the entertainment, all the attractions and dining and fun things to do. Obviously, things have changed. What has changed? Not a lot of people really kind of delve into. If you haven't been back, then you don't necessarily know what's changed. And I guess we could start off by highlighting some of the changes to the parks beyond just the safety protocols that they have, but some of the changes to the parks themselves and somewhat the magic. And then at the end of this, maybe you'll walk away with, your feeling that it is still a magical place. It's just changed, and so be it. That's the way life is right now. And eventually it may get back to where it needs to be. But for right now, this is what it is.
And for me personally, I think it's for my entire family. We very much believe in the magic. We don't try to look behind the curtain and see what is reality. We just go with, those are our characters, those are our friends. We get excited about the character meet and greets. We get excited about the parades. I still cry every time I walk down Main Street and see the castle for the first time. Like, I don't think that will ever change. And so a big concern for, I think, a lot of people is the magic gone? Like, is it just too depressing to go to Disney because they got rid of the parades, they replaced it with cavalcades, they got rid of the character meet and greets? But I think the thing to really remember is the magic is still there. It's still such a magical, special place. The cavalcades, for instance, no, it's not a big parade, but they just kind of pop up when you least expect them. And seeing characters unexpectedly and not having, honestly, let's be real, not having to sit and wait for a parade, sitting on a street for an hour and a half, wait for the parade to come, is like extra magical to me because they just appear.
The spontaneity.
The spontaneity is awesome. Like, I like that way better than having to plan and wait in the heat, on the ground, with kids that are bored and don't want to sit there.
Yep.
Like, they just pop up. And I actually did learn a little secret. They are scheduled, but they don't release the schedule. So you can kind of figure out when they're going to come. And they tend to like follow one another. So if you see one cavalcade, stick around because there's going to be another one in about 10 minutes. So that's a little secret I got from a certain sea captain at Epcot.
And it is pretty good that, you could be just off doing your own thing. And then all of a sudden you hear music and you're like, what's that? And everybody immediately says, oh, it's a cavalcade. So everybody goes running to the path of the cavalcade. Or you could just, stop along, just outside the castle, just kind of stopping for a second to take a photo pass picture or a picture. And all of a sudden you hear the parade coming, the cavalcade coming. So you stop. We were there when we were there a couple weeks ago. I still remember, we were taking pictures of our niece. And then all of a sudden we hear Boo to You come on. We're like, what's that? And sure enough, it was a Boo to You cavalcade coming through. Followed not too long after that by Jack Skellington and others. So it was those kind of things that it was just the spontaneity of it just made it so you didn't have to plan that out.
That's what made it extra special to me. Is I don't like the super structured vacation where we have to be here for breakfast at a certain time. We have to be here for lunch at a certain time.
I'm a planner.
He's totally a planner. I am a fly by the seat of my pants girl. And so, like, I like just the spontaneity and they just pop up. And also, like, character meet and greets have changed. So where you would have to stand in line to meet your favorite character, that is no longer. And yeah, it's a bummer because I love getting hugs, especially from Stitch. Stitch is my favorite. Or Mickey Mouse. I love getting those hugs and those personal interactions with the characters. But there's also something special and something extra magical about just observing your character in their natural environment.
Yeah.
So when we were in Epcot, Winnie the Pooh was catching butterflies with his butterfly net, and he was just frolicking in the grass.
Or Joy running around in the grass at Epcot.
Yeah, and I saw a video where someone said Joy picked up a stick, and Joy's from Inside Out, in case you didn't know. She picked up a stick and was pretending to ride a motorcycle. I just think that kind of new character interaction is so special and so unique and fun because it makes you feel like you're in the cartoon with your favorite character, and you can still get those pictures with them. I mean, it's obviously a social distance selfie and they're behind you, but they will absolutely pose for you. And also another really cool thing is the train station, because the trains are not running because of the Tron construction. They haven't been for a while. But the train station, almost any point during the day, you will see characters up there. It could be the princesses, it could be the Fab Five, and you can stand there and they will talk to you and interact with you, and there's no rush because there's nobody in line behind you waiting to get that picture.
Yep.
And that just is so cool to me, and it makes me so excited because I would rather have that type of interaction, and I honestly think Disney should do more of stuff. Even when the world starts to go back to normal, I think Disney should continue to do these kind of interactions because to me, they are more magical than standing in line for a rushed picture meet and greet.
Right, and I will say, for me, I as we said, I'm the planner. So when it came to our trips, I'd have Excel spreadsheets with all of our dining reservations and fast passes, and I'd be up at 7 a.m. on the line if I needed to get somebody on the phone, and it was a thrill for me to do that kind of stuff. But it was to make sure that we got to do everything we wanted to do, and then some. And the problem with that, obviously, is a structured trip like that sometimes is no fun.
And stressful.
And so one of the things that I've been trying to promise, which I haven't been great at, is to be a little more spontaneous in our trips when we go to Disney. Not doing a park day, not doing this or not doing that. And this has kind of forced us to do that. So these last couple of trips, I mean, yes, there's been some dining that we've made, some dining reservations that we've made. You only got 2 months in advance to make them, so it's not like you got 6 months in advance to make them. And you didn't even really need them. Like the times that we went, you could have walked up and got into a restaurant, right? And so,
and of course that could all change.
Yeah,
like
and
today.
It's changing day by day because more and more people are going. But it's been refreshing to be able to say, hey, let's go ride this over here, and the sign says 30 minutes, but the line doesn't look very long, and it turns out it's like 2 minutes. That's cool, Granted, it's been super hot this summer, so we went during hot periods. But all in all, I think we had really good experience with our last 2 trips, both in July and the one just a couple of weeks ago. Even with all that's gone on at Disney, even with all the changes that have gone on, there is, not as much entertainment. There is limited menus. There is some attractions that are either closed or being refurbished because they're going to go ahead and take this time to go ahead and do that. It doesn't diminish from the fact that we have fun and we enjoy it. Now, one of the things that we had a trip planned for December with Jen's sister and her husband and our young niece, and it was going to be their first time going, and I felt it was probably better for them not to go. So for us, we're Disney. I don't want to say Disney pros, but we go all the time. And so for us, we know the magic will come back, and we were pleasantly surprised by the magic that we saw when we were there. But I told them, I said, for somebody whose first trip it is, I would recommend waiting.
Yeah.
Only because you won't, if somebody who's never been at Disney World comes and experiences it today, they're not going to get the emotional connection to Disney World that others may get when all the magic is available.
And let's face it, you're spending a lot of money on a vacation
Right.
with limited magic. I can see how this would not be ideal for someone who's only going to make one trip every couple of years.
Right.
But for us, we go several times a year because we are annual pass holders and DVC members. And so for us, it's not a big deal to just go and experience some of the magic because we know we will be back. We will be back probably in a few short months, and we'll have new opportunities to see
Right.
the fun and exciting stuff,
And I know for me, with the whole reopening, Disney put out a video about the whole reopening, which was a good video. It was one of the Disney podcasters out there,
WDW couple.
Yeah,
I'll link the video below.
who put out a video that really just is like one of those ones that gets to you.
It makes you cry.
And
it was so good.
And it really goes to the heart of what it is that people find so appealing to Disney World. So take a look at that and check it out. But so all in all, I think what is your take on some of the cavalcades was a big change. Park hours has been a big change.
Yeah.
So right now the parks are not open very late. So for us, we didn't get to experience the park at night. We didn't get to experience the castle lit up or Epcot lit up. Now obviously after the time change that'll be different. but I think there's still limited attendance, but it's been pretty packed.
It was really busy this last visit we went. Hollywood Studios was really slammed, and there was a lot of stuff you just could not get access to. But we were lucky enough. We did get our little Rise of the Resistance boarding pass, which we kind of lucked out with, which was really awesome.
So, and it was night and day. So when we went in July, it was a walk-on pretty much everything.
Everything, yeah.
And
we couldn't get on Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah, we still couldn't get.
And there was nobody in the park at the time.
Well, it
and
kept
we
breaking
couldn't
down.
get on.
It kept breaking down. So we couldn't get on Rise of the Resistance. And then when we went back just a couple of weeks ago, it wasn't walk-on for stuff, and we had to wait for some stuff.
Oh, yeah. The Slinky Dog Dash was like 90 minutes.
And we skipped some lines because of how long they were. The problem is the way they look is often different than how they are because they are social distancing folks.
So the lines always go out into the parks and like down the pathways and curling around stuff. And,
right. So
you think it's like 5 years waiting and it's really like 30 minutes, but the line looks like atrocious.
But we still had a great time last time. Even though things are different from each trip to each trip. Now, one of the things I did want to give a little more detail on is, for example, social distancing. Right, so there are markers everywhere that tell you 6 feet. Stay 6 feet apart. Everywhere. Ride queues, popcorn carts.
Hallways in hotels have markings.
Yeah, everywhere you can think of, there's markings that remind you to do that. So I think one question that comes to mind is how you do that in a ride queue, right? So, for example, we were a group of 6, 2 pretty big people and a group of 6.
We took up the whole 6 feet in between the markers.
Exactly. So it was almost a little weird, like as if it was the people behind us had to stand at the next 6 feet line after the one behind us.
So they actually had to stand 12 feet away from the original marker.
So at the end of the day, I think the experience with the 6 feet marker has been pretty good. People tend to space out and follow along. A lot of times you'll get people who are looking at their phones, not paying attention, and you just kind of got to wait for them to move on.
Right. We all get into that mindset of we're used to just following along in the line.
Yep.
And so you forget that, we're in a pandemic. We can't get that close to people, and then you got to try to back up, and then the people behind you got to back up.
And if you're uncomfortable...
It does happen, though.
And if you're uncomfortable with people, because there are people who obviously don't realize what they're doing, and they get close to you. If you're uncomfortable with it, from what I've experienced, most people are open to you telling them, I'm sorry, but can you please back up a little bit?
Or... here is the brilliant idea. This is what you need to do. You need to find a 6-year-old. Find a 6-year-old. Explain to him about social distancing. Because our 6-year-old loves to tell people to back up. He's not always polite. I don't encourage him to be rude, but it's really funny when he starts to feel closed in on people. He turns around and says, social distancing! Yeah.
And that was the other thing, too.
That's all you need. Just have a 6-year-old with you.
Yeah. They make it funner, too, anyway. But the whole idea, like, hand sanitizers. There's hand sanitizer everywhere. And
that's another problem with the 6-year-old is he wants to stick his hand in every single hand sanitizer station. So he fills up his little hand and drips it all over himself.
Which is okay, except when you've been standing there for a minute because he keeps doing it and doing it. Your hands are clean. Let's move on. But it's great. I mean, the protocols they have in place are good. Disney does a really good job of following them. Disney Springs is a little bit different because they're less...
Disney Springs is cool in the afternoon, but don't go in the evening because everybody's coming for dinner and everybody's coming to shop after work, and like all the locals come out and everybody's done at the park, so they're going to Disney Springs for more magic, and it gets really closed in really quickly, and it made our teenage daughter like really uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I think and now when we went in July, the whole thing of like Disney has rules about wearing your mask unless you're eating or drinking. So when we first went in July, it was when you're eating or drinking. So people took that to mean, hey, I could get a beer or a drink and walk around Disney Springs with my mask off, drinking. Disney has since obviously updated their guidance to say when you're eating or drinking while stationary and social distancing.
So stay away from people and stand still.
Yeah.
So you're not just breathing everywhere.
Yeah. So that obviously for them,
it's not hard to do.
For them, the rules changed. But that was one of the things that made her uncomfortable. Was there was just people walking around with masks off just because they had a drink in their hand. And again, it boils down to, yes, we understand some people view masks differently, but Disney has a rule that says you have to wear a mask. So if you want to go to Disney, you want to spend time at Disney, you have to wear a mask.
And speaking of masks, our next video, this is actually going to be a 2-part series because this is getting a little long-winded. Our next is going to be what's it like wearing a mask in Disney because of the heat and humidity, but we're also going to cover what it's like being fat and wearing a mask in Florida in the humidity. So we're going to cover all that in our next video, but I wanted to make sure, you know, we don't make this video too incredibly long.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover.
So all the changes, with all the changes, is the magic still there? Yeah. There is still a lot of magic.
There is
to be
a lot
had
of
in
magic.
Disney. Children still love it. Our kids loved it. All the little kids we saw at Disney World that were there were still having a blast.
They were having a blast. They didn't mind the masks being on. They like playing with the machines to get the hand sanitizer, or like you push your foot on the pedal and water pumps out of the little machine. They love that kind of stuff. So if you're afraid to take your kids there, don't, because just explain to them what the rules are by Disney and they will follow them because it's fun to them.
Well, one of the greatest changes out of this whole thing has been security. The bag check. I hated the bag check. We would do everything we could to avoid having to go through the line with a bag. To the point where I remember on one trip, I had my daughter empty her bag and put everything in my pockets. And we literally had a clear backpack. The backpack was plastic and it was clear. And we said, we don't need to go through the line because it's a clear bag. No, they still made us go through bag check. You can see there's nothing in it. But now they have, you literally just walk through and you just keep walking. You don't even stop. And these scanners scan for
it's
guns.
So much faster.
Yeah, it's so much faster now.
And it's like a lot of positive changes have come to Disney because of what has happened in the world.
It's forced the changes.
And I like some of the changes. I think some of the changes are for the better. It makes the experience better and even more magical.
What about, real quick, what about park reservations?
Well,
so that's a hard thing. So
that is hard.
So Disney World, if you've been to Disney World, you know you could park hop, you go to this park, that park. Now you have to have a reservation before you can even get in the park. So even if you get a ticket, you still have to have a park reservation. That was a little hard, but I have yet, other than like, you know, holiday days or holiday weekends, I have yet to experience not being able to get a park reservation. So the truth of the matter is you can get a park reservation, in some cases almost the day before that you want to go. I obviously would suggest not doing that and having your park tickets a little bit in advance. But it's nowhere near as complicated as it seems to get a park reservation.
Yeah.
And you just go. Yes, you can't park hop, but eventually we'll get back there, I assume, at some point, Disney.
And I would rather just be in one park anyway and just be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially right now.
So the magic is still there, and we certainly
another thing. This is something I didn't know, and I didn't research. He knew. He does all the planning. But I didn't know how it worked. Like, you have to get the reservation. I was like, okay, well, if you get into the park and you get the reservation, can you leave the park and come back later? The answer to that is yes.
Yep.
We actually went to Epcot. We left Epcot. We took a ride on the terrible, terrible Skyliners that I cannot.
It's
they
not
terrify
terrible.
me.
It's not
they
terrible.
are scary. Okay.
She's afraid of heights.
I don't like heights. I don't like closed-in spaces. It's like a flying coffin. I don't like them. But
which is funny because I'm afraid of flying and she's not, and I don't mind the Skyliner.
So anyway, we left Epcot. We rode the Skyliner just to ride the Skyliner because we had our two nieces with us and they've never been in the Skyliner and they wanted to go. And then we came back and with no problem whatsoever got right back into Epcot. So you can leave the park, you can come back, you can like take a break. Although limited park hours, I wouldn't do that for like hours and then come back. I mean, it just wouldn't make sense, but you know.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, it was great 2 trips. We look forward to
every time you say all in all, I think of cars.
We certainly look forward to our future trips, you know, and we're planning on going back here again fairly soon. So,
and we will have more information if anything changes on any of the information we have covered today.
And if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below, and we'll certainly try to respond to as many questions or all the questions.
Or covered in a future video.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.